Hey guys, Pikachu for the win here, and with the trade here with the trade binder video. So yeah, let's get these binders open. Start off with that one. As you can see, the stickers aren't that good on. Okay, no, wait. Not for trade, not for trade. This whole page is not for trade. Not for trade, not for trade, not for trade. Gardevoir X for trade. Dark Eye, they're not for trade. Scizor, not for trade. Feraligatr, Crobat for trade. Donphan, not for trade. Absol, not for trade. The Crobat's the only one for trade on this page. Slowking, Lantern, Houndoom, Ampharos, Elflithograph. Shiny is not for trade. These are for trade. These three are not for trade. 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 Well, I guess some of these could be for trade if you offered something. Take for trade. For trade. Not for trade. For trade. I'll put this on for trade, but I'll have to trade a lot for this one, Regirock Star, because it's my first ever star. Not a big fan of Regirock, but I'll trade it for something good. Registeel, not for trade. Regirock, not for trade. Regigigas, not for trade. Shaman, not for trade. Regigigas, that's not for trade. Entei for trade. Rayquaza, not for trade. Ho-Oh, not for trade. Rotom, Manaphy, yeah, not for trade. These Duskull, shiny for trade. Shiny Shinx, not for trade. Not for trade. Well, I only have one of these, so well, yeah, don't you guys for trade? Not for trade. Not for trade. Not for trade. This one's definitely not for trade. Not for trade. For trade. Not for trade. Not for trade. Sorry, I accidentally pressed a different button, so yeah. Not for trade, for trade, not for trade, for trade, not for trade, not for trade. No, Crobat, no, not for trade, because it's from my favorite artists. Umbreon for trade, Espeon. These are all the hollows from Undaunted. Well, Scizor's on the back, so yeah. Fortress for trade, because I have 5 of those. Smeargle hollow for trade. Nidoking, not for trade. Wobbuffet for trade. Raichu, not for trade. 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 The promo Lickler, not for trade. Scizor, not for trade. Drifloon, Tropius for trade. And yeah, there's the other Fortress. Ampharos, not for trade. Anything on this page for trade? Let's see. I guess Roserade for trade. Not for trade, not for trade, not for trade. Frostlass, not for trade. Gengar, well, yeah, fine. I guess I could put this, maybe trade. Gengar for trade. Ampharos, not for trade. Ampharos, not for trade. Honchkrow for trade. Lantern, maybe for trade. Emipom for trade. Slacking for trade. Flygon, not for trade. And here's my Holo Pikachu. I'm not sure I'm trading any of these. Not for trade. Not for trade. Surfing Pikachu, not for trade. Reprint Pikachu, not for trade. Let's see what I can trade here. Arcanine G, probably for trade. Not for trade, not for trade, not for trade. Blastoise, Charizard, reprint, and Venusaur, not for trade. Palm G for trade, Sink Tank G for trade, Beach Road G for trade. This whole page is for trade. This page is not for trade, maybe Crawdont G. Oh yeah, by the way, the Zapdos G. Wait, never mind. Wait, there's another video coming up that I uploaded. I haven't uploaded, but I made a few days ago. And I pulled another Zapdos G, so... Yeah, but the Zapdos G has been traded, so... Yeah, Zapdos G not for trade. Beedrill for trade, as I said. Porygon Z for trade. Alakazam 4 for trade. Not for trade. Trade, and not for trade. Not for trade, not for, reprint Lucky Buzz, not for trade. Let's see if anything on this page is for trade. Deoxys for trade. Yeah, nothing else. Kingdra for trade. Zoodoodoo not for trade. Sceptile for well yeah, I guess I can trade that since I have 2 of them. Hariyama for trade. Lugia not for trade. Honchkrow for trade. Salamence not for, and yeah, those ones. Nobody wanted those, but Marowak not for trade. Miltank for trade. Weavile for trade. Lancer not for trade. Nitrick for trade. Shaman not for trade. Hitmonlee. And those 3 are not for trade. Let's see if anything on this page is for trade. I guess Tangrowth for trade. Leafeon for trade. Not for trade. Okay, these past 3 pages are not for trade. Okay. Not for trade. Crowd not for trade. Probopass. Not for trade. Trade. These 3 not for trade. Not for trade. For trade. Not for trade. Not for trade. 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 Not for trade. Not trade. Not trade. For trade. For trade. For trade. Not for trade. Trade. Not for trade. Maybe for trade. For trade and not for trade. For trade. For trade. For not for trade. Yeah, that's for trade. Arbok for trade. Pinsir for trade. Armaldo not for trade. Yeah, as I said, that's for trade. Politoed not for trade. And maybe I'll trade some of these darks. Maybe I'll trade Dark Electrode for trade. Aerodactyl not for Fossil not for trade. Maybe Dark Crobat. Maybe Dark Crobat. Nothing else on this page is for trade. Skarmory for trade. Dark Gyarados not for trade. Dark Magneton for trade. Dark Weezing for trade. Honchkrow for trade. Pinsir for trade. Not for trade. Metagross for trade. Not for trade. Not trade. Trade if anybody wants that Japanese Zubat. Trade. Not for trade. If anybody wants the Japanese Cyndaquil, it is for trade. 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 Not trade. Not trade. Trade. Not trade. And trade. Some EXs. Blaziken not for trade. Sharpedo for trade. Maniana right not for trade. But basically, the ones I'm trading on this page are Sharpedo, Deoxys. Well, if I get any good offers, why did I say officers? I'll probably trade some other ones, but yeah. Type Space for Distortion, maybe for trade. I'm not sure. Whole page for trade. I'm not sure about this one yet. Ludicolo not for trade. Magwater not for trade. For trade. I'm just gonna say trade or not trade. Not trade. 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 Not trade. Not trade. Not trade. Not trade. Well, maybe Gardevoir. Probably not. Primate, maybe for trade. Slacking for trade. Sceptile not for trade. Donphan not for trade. Drifloon for trade. Licky for trade. Raichu not for trade, Infernape not for trade, Shifty for trade, Dark Charizard never for trade, Fortress for trade, Mamoswine not for trade, not for trade, not for, well, yeah, for trade, not for trade, and not for trade. This whole page, not for trade, except for that Umbreon, since I have two. This is probably going to take a while, because, well, not really, I'm almost done. For trade, trade, not trade, not trade. These three not for trade. Maybe if I get some good offers. Trade. Nope, not this Flareon. Maybe for trade. Maybe and for trade. Kricketune for trade. Kangaskhan not for trade. Unknown Flash, I think, not for trade. Ludicolo maybe for trade. Electabuzz for trade. Breloom for trade. Krogunk not for trade. Toxicroak not for trade. Blaziken not for trade. Latias for trade. Happiny not for trade. Larvitar, Shelgon, Munchlax, Ninetales, Piloswine, Zagoose. Yeah, those are all for trade except for these two. Oh, and Munchlax. For trade, not for trade, not for trade. Trade. And everything on this page is for trade. And trade. Not these two energies. And the Growlithe not for trade, but everything else is for trade. So yeah, it's basically, I have another binder, but I'm almost out of time, so probably make that in another part. So yeah, I'm Pikachu for the win, and PM me or comment if you want to trade, and I'm out.